Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting. Mr. Weber, if we could have a roll call to get started, please.
Mr. Demakia.
Yes.
Mr. Fallis.
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Present.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. And I see we have no student to lead the pledge, but Dr. Hall is coming. He's...
Plan B.
Move as fast as you students. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We would have our... Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. President, rest of the board, and treasurer and superintendent, we had a wonderful year this year with Second Harvest, and at this time I'd like to have Julie Blair from Second Harvest, please, if she would join me up here. They were very gracious to actually six of our elementary schools in supplying bags of food for our kids to take home for the weekends. So at this time, if you could just say a few words and about that, and we would like to, Mr. Tucker would like to present a certificate of appreciation tonight.
We've worked very closely with Second Harvest over a period of time, and I guess it was around Christmas time. They called us and said that they would like to work with our students a little more. Boys and Girls Club has worked with Second Harvest with our students for a number of years, and it's been a real good program to have food for our students. So we had the program, and we developed it for kindergarten through, I believe, second grade? Yes, through second grade. And they delivered the food, and Mr. Hawks made sure it got to the buildings, and it was bagged and ready to go. So we passed that out to our students and to really help our families through this long, cold winter. And we really want to applaud them and acknowledge them for going above and beyond to what they normally usually do with us. And we were really pleased because it really meant a lot to our families.
First and foremost, we had some funds that were made available to us, and it is important for us to be able to reach out to the children. I believe it was 600 students per week. We actually do about 50,000 backpacks throughout our 4 counties, and this is something we do want to do for you guys again next year. In each bag, it's 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, 2 juices, 2 milks, and 2 snacks for the kids, and it really helps them to get by for the weekend. So it was our pleasure.
They just had a wonderful groundbreaking for their new facility in Baltimore Road. They're expanding.
Yes.
So I was happy to be able to join them on that. So good things happening with Second Harvest.
Thank you.
The second one we would like to introduce, the gentleman just walked in. Brad would come up here. First student. I'll let Brad Sprague, a first student, give you the details for the number of days. But first student has reached a milestone, and we're very happy. Mr. Tucker did not want to announce this to the last. School is out. Yeah. With that being said, Brad, why don't you come?
Hello. Recently, I've been with the bus service now for about 14 years, and during that time, we've not hit a milestone like this. Literally, not hit a milestone. We have made it 417 days without a preventable collision, and that is more than one whole school year. And I know that our people are committed to the safety of the children, and I'm very proud of that. So we wanted to make sure we shared that with you.
Excellent.
And then we have a certificate here for us, and I would like Diane Evans to receive that. She's one of our bus monitors. She's been with us for 26 years. Wow. And she also is in charge of the high school loading over at the high school. We have 17 buses and almost 1,000 kids that come out of the building every day.
She gave me a heart attack one day over there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And she gets them all on the buses and right where they need to be, and we really appreciate all of our employees, but I'm glad Diane could be with me tonight.
She has a police siren, and the kids know that's what it is. I didn't know that. I was over there going, what's going on?
She knows how to control it, that's right.
They came this about a month ago and said, I said, we're not saying a word till the end of the school year, because the minute you announce it, but it was, that's quite a milestone with the number of students they transport and the number of miles that we drive. It's a tremendous accomplishment. We're real proud of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. This time, we'd entertain our first hearing of the public. May I have a motion to amend the signed minutes of regular board meeting held on Monday, June 2nd, 2014?
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Fellis?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes. Is there any old business for discussion, gentlemen?
If I might, I just want to bring the question I brought 2 weeks ago. We've got proposals for legal services. I think we owe those who responded and the public the opportunity to know what we plan to do.
Yes, and I spoke with Mr. Tucker, and on our first meeting in July, we will expedite that business.
Wonderful, thank you.
Any other old business or questions, gentlemen? At this time, we would have a report and recommendations of the treasurer, Mr. Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. There are 6 items on the agenda for approval this evening. A couple of them I will not talk about. Mr. Tucker will brief you on, but I'll give you some basic things. First one is the May financials. We have at the end of May $6.1 million in our general fund balance, with 1 more month to go in May. And June is typically a month where some things have to get paid out. So we'll see how we end up for the end of the year. Item 2 is the standard purchase orders needing board approval. Items 3, 4, and 5 are kind of related. Item 3 talks about the sponsor contract between the Lorain State Schools and the Lorain K-12 Digital Academy. I was helping Mr. Tucker coordinate that project. Item 4 talks about, like I say, it's related to the contract. It talks about some basic items, code of regulations, number of directors allowed by the digital, the appointment of the directors. Item 5 talks about how Lorain State Schools employees interface with Digital Academy regarding oversight, monitoring, the fiscal officer, director of schools, and the role of superintendent. And item 6 is a donation. So I'll let Mr. Tucker talk briefly about the contract.
As you know, the Digital Academy, at one time Lorain had 4 digital academies, and they're one of the first ones in the state of Ohio, and actually they're called conversion schools, and they're basically community schools sponsored by a school district. There's quite a few of them in the state. The original contract and everything was written in 2002. It's been 12 years. There's been a lot of changes in the law. So the current contract was set to expire, and we looked at it, and I was a little uncomfortable because I know some of the changes, but not all of them. So we contacted Bricker Eckler, who writes a number of these, and actually wrote the original contract. And the attorney that we use is a specialist specifically for writing these contracts. Our contract, which is you've been renewing them over time. We've just been renewing the same one, but we needed to change some things in there according to the new law. And these current contracts set to expire in July, so we need to renew it. And both parties will execute that, and their board of directors will do that at that time. One thing that that the law does change a little bit is the Board of Education here now has a little more oversight responsibilities than they did, and that's just by law. You will appoint the Digital Academy Board of Directors. I mean, they'll bring a slate to you, but you have the ability to do that, and you should, since you are the sponsor for that. And there's a provision in the contract that they've done real well financially over there, that what will happen is there'll be a one-time payment of $500,000 back to Lorain schools for that, and or make the payment over 5 years, however the board decides to do that. And because we are the sponsor, that's how the regular charter schools make their money. And the board of directors are planning to have their meeting on June 17th to approve the contract for that. And what it does is it clarifies a lot of the roles. Some of the terms have changed over time with the law, and and they've been around long enough now that pretty much everything's matured. So what we're doing is just bringing us everything up to date for the next 5 years.
Okay. So I recommend for approval items 1 through 6.
Motion to approve items 1 through 6.
Support motion. Discussion? I do have a question, and this is that question I had, I think, just for clarity reasons. Do we appoint or do we approve their appointments?
The words I'm reading say appoint, and it talks about that. What happens, the process I think we should be is when we have the Board of Education has its organizational meeting in January, that'll be the appointment time. So January 2015 will be the next set, and it's an annual term until every year is how we'll do that.
Okay, so then what I would suggest is if we can just arrange a meeting with their board chair. We've never formally interfaced with them. And so, be it in the scope of our responsibility to actually appoint as opposed to just approve. And then if there's any material, Mr. Weber, that you could provide for board members, just general background on how that process has worked. And even to the point of they may have in their bylaws how they go about recommending board members. I mean, do they... I have no idea how we get this slate of board members, but
I don't think there is. Initially, it was school employees, depending on in fact, I was on that school board, but then they changed the law about 06, 07 that they said it had to be outside people, and it's just getting people that you asked to serve. That's what it has been.
In their old contract, it talks about kind of them appointing themselves when they needed members and whatnot. That contract is all
that
outdated.
group would look for someone.
Yeah.
okay. So just so that we can, make sure we're doing our due diligence and have clarity on exactly what we're doing, as opposed to by default.
Well, based on what Dale said, are we just then appointing these board members that are listed until January 1st?
Yes.
And whose responsibility is it? The board's responsibility, the Board of Education, or the Board of Directors of the community school to submit names? Do the names for the position in January, for instance, do they come to us, or does it go like the library? The library brings lists, and we have to approve it, but they do the rounding up of the people. So one of the things you may want to find out is who is responsible. Apparently, there's been a lot more onus put on the school board.
That is correct.
In the districts.
Right.
So
Because you are the sponsor of that. So.
Right. So if we are the ones who are, if the sponsor is required to get a list of candidates, then we need to know that so that something go out in November or sometime. And now, Tom, you will be the president of the board of directors.
I always have been.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So this should make you pleased. I mean,
That's
you
not.
and,
yeah.
you and Williams can
I've been acting in
presidential
that.
weekends and
At Martha's Vineyard? Camp David?
Camp David. That's right. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, so that way we can even be a little bit more clear in our role and responsibility. It's kind of interesting. When did the law change? Do we?
You don't want to know.
Don't want to know. Yeah, we don't want to know.
Yeah.
Don't want to know that answer too.
It's evolved over time. As things have come up, it's evolved over time.
But I'm glad this piece with the contract came up in those other issues. Otherwise, it's so good. Good. Any other questions, gentlemen?
So that we need to do.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes.
That's all the only thing I had to have is a reminder, everybody, that we had that board meeting scheduled for the 27th at 5 o'clock on Friday to close out this year and open up next year. And I will have a estimate of the close at that time for this year. That's all I have.
And just for the record, I do have a conflict. My daughter has a special event that evening in Cleveland, my oldest. So, gentlemen, will everyone else be able to be here?
I'm not going to be able to be here either.
I won't be here.
Will you three be here? Because all we need is 3 for the quorum.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
I think.
Would another day be better? Or earlier on a Friday?
What about Thursday?
Well, I mean, all you need is three.
Thursday would be okay.
It's just
I mean,
it's just
it's
the
gonna be-
routine closing of the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's going to be a 3-minute meeting.
Okay,
Mhm.
I will
You
have
have
to get back to you to see about, the
this-
routine 15-minute meeting.
Yep. Friday's good.
If we miss Friday, then we're gonna have a little issue, because we got some deadlines with the county auditor
Yeah.
that we're trying to do
Has to be
too.
done.
All right,
Okay.
all right.
Why don't you make it Thursday then?
Let me get back to you guys on that. Okay? Okay.
We're here to serve you now. Whatever day you want.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. At this time, report recommendations of the superintendent. Mr. Tucker.
Personnel matters, A, item 1, since the last meeting, we've got 3 more retirements. Item 2, new appointments. These are our summer help people. Item B, these are our OGT summer tutoring, which is required that we need to do for our students who need to take the test. C, curriculum writers. This is updating our curriculum from what we wrote last year and the new Common Core and some of the newer areas that we have to work on. D, summer credit recovery program for those students. That's a Title I funding. E, administrators to run those programs. Those are grant funded also. Approval of personnel A, items 1, 2, A through E.
Motion to approve personal matters, items 1 and 2, A through E.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Operation Matters B, item 3. First one here, this is something we've been looking to do for quite a while, and we got career tech funding to do this, and I've already sent you a lot of information on this, but the Tools for Schools is quite an organization that works with community college, and I invite you to contact them and get a lot of information. And what their big push for us is strategic enrollment retention development plan. They do it on a career-based thing, and we may have to renew this at some point if it works well. But this is step 1 in working on this, and we're finding a way to get that funded. Items 4, 5, and 6 are alternative education grants. We received a call 2 weeks ago from the Department of Education, and we're working pretty well with them right now. And they said, we've got money for summer programs for alternative education students. Can you get it through your grant person and get it funded and have all the information to us in a week and then get it spent by the end of the month? We said absolutely, because we already had a number of summer programs ready to go for those students. So those are the programs that we put together as team building and leadership building, and that's all paid for with actually was leftover alternative funds that had to be paid for by the end of the month. Item 7 is our renewal of our annual collaborative agreement with Community Action and Head Start for our preschool. Item 8 is the ESC, and this is for part of the OPES training that we had. Item 9 is a contract with Searle Enterprises, and what this is she's going to be working with, it's a Title II expenditures, and what she works on is academic and behavioral intervention. She does a lot of response to intervention, working with the teachers and giving them strategies how to keep students in the classroom and move them along. Item 10 is our AVID program that we're going to be doing for next year. Item 11 is the ESC, and there's no cost on that one. Item 12 is the school turnaround services for this particular year. This was no additional cost. So I ask for approval of Operation Matters items 3 through 12.
Motion to approve items 3 through 12.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Under C, Facility Matters, item 13 is the abatement of Lakeview School, and item 14 is the contract for the demolition of Lakeview School. So ask for approval of items 13 and 14.
Motion to approve items 13 and 14.
Support. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Tucker. This time, I think we need a, sorry, let me get my agenda. Is there any new business for discussion, gentlemen? Committee reports, requests from board members?
Just let me say there's 129 bills sitting in Columbus.
Please don't recite them.
So the state is at great risk.
Yes.
Those are the 129 that apply towards education. I think they have to the end of the month, Tom?
June 30th, yeah, and the governor
so-
has to sign them.
So the other is just an announcement on June 19th, which is this Thursday. It's 5 p.m. in this room. The Bond Oversight Committee has its quarterly meeting. And that completes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. We would entertain now our second hearing of the public. Come on, somebody. You're a reporter. Okay.
Go on. Go.
Well, let's see. Our next meeting will be to be announced.
To be announced.
Yes.
Can we think at least about just, usually in the summer, we only have one.
Yeah, what I'll do
month?
is I will reach out to board members
Okay.
via phone, and because there's some other things, I know I wanted to assemble us in some kind of maybe committees or work groups. We really have to get jumping on the treasurer and superintendent evaluation.
Yeah.
So it might be a good time in the summer. They don't have to be part of that. There might be some information we want to review, but we need to kind of get those things lined up. So
Well, the next regular board meeting would be July 7th.
yes. So we will, if that meeting is to be held, we will. If not, we'll communicate between
Okay,
now and the
fine,
next
fair
week.
enough.
And so I need a motion to go into executive session for item
A, 1 and 2, and D.
A, 1 and 2, and D.
Motion to go in executive session for item A, 1 and 2, and item D.
Support.
Discussion?
Will we be asked to take action on anything tonight? Okay.
No action, so we won't come back and do anything.
We haven't done it yet, so I would be.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fellows?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.
To purchase a high-quality copy of the program you just viewed, please call Lorain City Schools Television at 282-8400.